Welcome everyone to our session of today. It's beautiful to be back with more webinars, hoping that they are of benefit to you and to your work and to your clients. Today we'll be talking about learning management systems, and those would be a very good resource for you to turn your training to the online platform that we're all using now in order to mitigate the side effects of the COVID 19. So, we hope that you'd always be able to serve your clients, and we're trying to assist you in doing that. Our speaker for today is Mr. Otto Acuna, and he is number one, the founder of and managing partner of XG.com. He's a management consultant, of course, and the business is about management consulting and business enablement company. It is specialized in back office solutions, and the LMS he's going to talk to us about is one of those. Of course, Otto is a CMC, and he's also a member of the CMC-Global Institute. Other than that, he volunteers with ICMCI as a member of our Quality Assurance Committee and the 2020 Onwards Task Force that is going to present its report by the end of the year to all our delegates and IMCs. So, welcome, Otto. Now it's your turn to share your screen, to put up your presentation, and start. Wishing you the best of luck, my dear.
Thank you, Rima. Let me just this is here, share, and now you should all be seeing my screen, right?
Correct.
Okay,
We can all see it. Please go ahead.
perfect. So basically, the agenda for today, as Rima has just said, it will be to try to use around 20-25 minutes to provide you an under the hood view of how e-learning works, or at least how it has worked for us. Then have perhaps 5 minutes, a little more, so that you see the admin view of our learning management system and tell you a little bit how we configure it and how we use it with the background that we provided in the previous 20 minutes. And then we open for the questions where we can see, where we can talk about lessons learned or what has gone well and not that well for us in this journey. Okay, so let's start a little bit with what we do. As already Rima said, we basically work with clients, and XCG is a consulting practice that works with clients, helping back office areas work better. So how we got into e-learning was because for anyone who has been involved with training, there are a lot of menial tasks that need to be done when you do training. And originally, doing e-learning has been viewed as a way to expand reach, and secondly, to eliminate back office operations regarding providing the training. I will be providing at the end of this session the handouts, so you don't need to take any notes regarding what the slides have, because you will get them. And I will try to move a little bit fast to try to get to the questions as soon as possible. Okay, we have two lines of services, XCG, which I already mentioned, and this year we created a spin-off that is called e-Consulting Global Solutions, and basically what this is a B2B company that sells only to consulting practices, basically to allow them to do what we already do with our clients. We work mostly in the Americas and in Spain and Portugal, mostly in Spanish. And of course, e-Consulting Global Solutions, because it has a different reach, works in English. And it doesn't sell to end clients. Okay. I already said that basically e-Consulting Global Solution is a mirror of our capacities, but basically enabling behind the curtains other consulting companies to allow them to do different things that we do, very leveraged by technology. We went virtual completely in 2019, and it's been a very interesting journey. All right. um, how did we get into e-learning? Um, Probably, as many of you, we have been hearing about e-learning for at least 20 years. You know, I was, when I was back in PwC many years ago, we spoke with corporate clients about the, the benefits of having an e-learning program and using e-learning. But at that time, it was very expensive, complicated. People would use Blackboard or any other proprietary platform. And since then, technology has commoditized, and even more in the last year with the COVID impulse to everything that is virtual. Let me move this into English. Basically, we have a platform that is called XG Learning. That's what we started in 2013. And how we got into this was basically with a client who was in financial services. They needed to do the regulatory e-learning at that time. We already had a very long relationship with them. And basically, once we finished to design what they needed to do, they said to us, you know what, I don't want to run it. You know, my business is financial services, and I don't want to do anything else of back office stuff. So you run it. So after designing it for a client, we got to run it. That's how our business enablement services actually were born. And we started to run it with them only. So far, right now, we have different clients that run into this platform, because the platform that we are going to show you has the capacity to have, let's say, branches. And these branches can be tailored, customized to the branding of each individual branch. So what we do with it is that we sometimes provide it for clients, you know, so that they have their own e-learning environment on their brand with everything, and we are in the back supporting them as the consulting company. And actually, we became with the new laws, with the new line of service, the infrastructure provider for e-consulting global solutions when we provide this to other consulting companies, so that they don't get into the technical details, which we are going to overview now. We also provide that this platform provides within my volunteering. We provide it to the CMC-Global Institute. Anyone who has had the opportunity to have one of our courses or webinars, it is hosted in this same platform. All right. And as I already said, you know, and we're going to go into that detail, but an LMS, a learning management system, is one of the key features is that you can monitor what everyone is doing. On the contrary, as just, for example, providing content, let's say it is virtual, whether it's live or asynchronous or recorded, what you get with an LMS is to control the experience that the person who is taking the course has. So you have a lot of statistics on what the people is doing or not doing, and you can also provide them that content at their own pace. which now for COVID has been very important because um, if you on your own practice do webinars, you probably have seen that attendees have dropped dramatically because now the offer of live webinars is so big because everyone is trying to reach out the same customers that sometimes I had the opportunity to participate owners in an owners meeting, and I thought I was doing something wrong, and actually everyone is experiencing the same thing, that participating in a webinar or in a training was considered a few months ago kind of a disconnect from daily life. Now that we spend so much time into video conferencing, people is not so keen to jump into video more video sessions that are live or synchronous. So many of the things that we started with were regulatory, either for financial, pharma, or to be able to reach out for clients, um, uh, personnel that is on the run, salesmen, drivers of distribution channels and things like that. Okay, let's get under the hood a little bit. I won't go into all the detail. I have many of these slides have links. So if you want to investigate a little more, you can in the PDF, you can just click on the link and you will get the source of many of these. So when we're talking about learning, we may say generally that you have the traditional learning, which many of you have probably used some technology enrichment tools, like for example, if you have a tablet, a drawing tablet, then you can go and do things like this, or point at something and things like that. This is technology that enriches your online live activities, and this is, or blackboards that are electronic and print out things. This is still in the brick and mortar, and what we call online learning is basically when no one is present in the training room. And I won't go into the different models because this is not the purpose of today, but basically to enable an online learning environment, you need a learning management system, you need tools to create the content, and more recently, we'll talk about that, add-on tools to actually get people, prevent people from falling asleep in the courses. And there are many organizations or consultants or practices that provide blended learning. What blended means in general terms is that you combine within one training course, you combine live activities with Zoom or any other tool, and combine them with recorded material. So you may, for example, have some modules, usually short, that are that you consume in a recorded manner, and maybe you have a forum, or you have a discussion, a discussion forum, or have a weekly or a monthly meeting where you do Q&A live with the expert who is providing all that combination of live with recorded, and sometimes even combined with in-presence sessions for a specific exercise. All that is called blended learning. Okay, let's talk about the learning management system. If any of you is old enough as me, you will remember the VCRs. So the LMS is a VCR. It just plays things that you need to develop, that you need to create. So a learning management system, and we will see it in a few minutes, is basically the player, where you place your users, you define what those users can see and can do, and you load up content that can be seen by those users. And in that context, there's a whole variety of, formats. Um, there are many brands, as I said, the technology has been commoditizing a lot, and you have different platforms. Some are corporate and basically you have two flavors of platforms. The ones that are thought for um, institutions, for educational institutions. So their features and their tasks and the workflows they have are with an educational institution in mind and with the students in mind. And there are what they call corporate LMSs, which are thought for employees or for clients or for business or organizations, but not a student, rather an employee or a client or something else. And there are different also platforms that can be, a proprietary in itself. So you need to develop within that platform. Some others allow you some different contents. We'll get to that. Some even are like plugins that you can add on to WordPress, for example, to your website, and they will handle your registration, and they would provide you with some basic playing capabilities, probably not as good as the standalone system. And also there is the possibility either to have it on cloud or to install it on your own premise. The problem with on-premise is that you have to provide the bandwidth, and many people have that. For example, have placed or installed Moodle, which is one of the free ones, and have their own infrastructure. They have found, it has some limitations, but beyond that, that even if they have 30 people in a course, then it's 30 people consuming bandwidth that is getting into your own internet account. And sometimes, if you don't have that bandwidth, then the experience starts to suffer. So at least my recommendation would be whatever you use, try to use it on cloud, because at the end you are using their bandwidth and their availability capability. There are many, as I said, over 600. If you go into elearningindustry.com, and there is the link, you can, there's a different comparisons. These people do not sell one system. You will find many comparisons in the web. Their merit is that they are more or less neutral. Then let's talk about the content. Regarding the content, we have also many different houses of software that allow you to produce content. If you go again to elearningindustry.com, there are about 151 at least, probably more, or you can do it by hand. The problem here, or the issue that you need to be aware of, is that we are in a point of time in the industry's development where we are like in the VCR wars 20 years ago. There are many different formats. Some LMSs do allow you to use their own system to produce content, but then that content is proprietary. You cannot move it. You know, if you don't like that LMS anymore, then you cannot move it as a video or as a other asset because it has been created in that platform. And many of the authoring tools that there are in the market, they offer you also, sometimes even for free, somewhere to play it. The downside of that is that you have just got yourself a barrier to go out of that provider if you later on want to do so. Um, so regarding content, in general, many LMSs can allow you to place video, like this one, for example. It could be just taken up and set it up as a webinar, and that's what we do in CMC-GI with the webinars. It could be a web page. Perhaps you have a web page or something somewhere else, and you need to include it as an asset that people can play around or look at it, and then so you can embed web pages. Of course, there is the LMS proprietary format that many of those provide you: PDFs, PowerPoint, etc. And let's get into these three: SCORM, XAPI, or CMI5. Basically, regarding inter-LMS formats, uh, we have currently three formats that are the equivalent to the PowerPoint of content. And these, a video is just a one-way content, as well as PDF or the web pages or a PowerPoint. You are just emitting things and sending to the learner some content. What SCORM or SAPI or CMI allow is some interactivity, and you can have play games, and you can have different activities within the course with more interactivity, and you can embed videos and things like that. But basically, and also very importantly, if you produce something in SCORM, which is interactive, and in SCORM or SAPI or CMI, you can move it from one LMS to another. So that is important in terms of looking at this as a business. What we use, you have seen in the previous slide what the options are, but what we use in XCG Learning is Storyline 3 from our software house that is called Articulate. That is very good because if you know how to use PowerPoint, you can start producing simple things with Storyline using more or less the same interface. And then you can, it can do much more than a PowerPoint, but you can start with that. And then on the same interface, then you can start learning how to do the interactions and some scripts and some more complex stuff, but you can start easy. So the other, the arch rival of that platform is called Captivate from Adobe, which is very good also, but it has a learning curve more difficult. Let me just see. And the last thing I just wanted to say before going into the platform is what we have spoken with the technology-rich instruction. We have spoken about the learning management system, about the tools to create the content, and the other thing, especially now with COVID, is that many of you probably are already using, sorry, I'm sorry, some type of web conferencing software, whether it's Zoom like this or any other. The problem we are all having with with live Zoom training is what this picture shows. Basically, people it's getting very tired, and you don't get necessarily the engagement that you want, because so what has been growing exponentially in this year are tools that let you keep your learners awake and engaged and participate, and that interaction not in the recorded format as the SCORM and CMI does, but actually to provide some interaction within a live presentation. And there are many. So regarding the LMS, first you need to make sure that your LMS works with whatever live presentation software you have, because at the end, the idea is that the experience is just one, so that you, in the same course, you are able to see recorded material, then move on to the next unit that is a live presentation, and at the end, the LMS records the whole journey and provides you with a grade or a passed just or just attended, and provides you with data of what happened on all that. So it is important that whatever you use, it works with your LMS, and the LMS usually, depending on what you use, but they usually work with several of those brands. The other thing that you need to have is the tools that allow you to engage and interact. And these are just three of them that are one of the, three of the most popular. Mentimeter, which allows you to do some interaction with Q&A and things like that, and people can download an app in their phone, and they are provided with a code, and then they have that interaction with the tutor, with the instructor. Kahoot, which is more gamified, so it allows you again to provide you with questions and things like that. Then people answer to those questions, and then you have a board with points depending on whether or not you had the right questions. And then you can, for example, so you have a scorecard seeing the points of the people, and you can engage with some soft reward or hard reward. And there is also Miro, which I am personally in the process of learning. What Miro does is that integrates with many of those platforms, and it allows you to actually have a blackboard, like in a room where everyone can be writing and posting things and doing stuff at the same time. And it has different formats that you can use. So if you work with post-its, you can do post-its there. Everyone can do post-its there. If you work with other stuff, everything that could be written or glued to a wall can be done virtually in Miro, integrated with the video, and with, for example, rooms and things like that. So that is at least a very good tool that I'm actually in the process of experimenting with. All right, 5 minutes, 5 minutes over. what I wanted to have. Very quickly, just before going into the questions, let me just stop sharing here. Let me see. End slideshow. Got it stuck. Let me just. Let me see what is going on here. I think it got stuck. Let me stop the share, perhaps.
It worked.
Okay, and let me just discard. Oh, okay. Now I have it, and let me reshare my screen. Sorry about that. Okay, now you should be seeing XG Learning login. We're gonna just move very quickly, no more than 5 minutes. This is the my admin view, so you can see how it sees inside. What we use is Talent LMS. You know, after different considerations and you know, it's not important what you use because there's so much offer in the market. Actually, now that technology has been commoditized, it is more important how it fits what you need. Um, and in this case, I work. You have in this system, you have 3 roles. I'm gonna go into the administrator one. So if you see, for example, here you administer the users, administer the courses that you have, and you can also purchase some courses that Talent LMS provides you in English at this point. You can have categories for your courses, so you can filter out and manage the different assets that you have. You can have groups so that you, within the users, can have groups for this project or for this company or for this campaign that we are doing something. We have the branches, which are the different branded uh, um, options and events for notifications and automations that you can do. User types, basically there are 3, but you can configure different ones. Reports, because this is a system that is thought for companies, you have a lot of reports that you can see. Different settings for gamification, people that can purchase directly your courses here. It depends on how you want to customize. And if you go as a learner, then you see either this or this view. In this case, I'm looking at everything because I'm the system admin. And if you are like an instructor, then you can also see which courses are inactive, which branches. So you see that I have different branches here, and depending on the clients, and see that for GI, I have these 3 categories that are courses, events that were recorded, or webinars. You know, the ISO ones, the events that we had online and we recorded, so that if someone missed something, they can go back, and you know, different things. If I go into any of this, let me just open up, for example, just to show you uh, something, one that has everything. Here, I think is this one. So in this one, see that, you know, this is, remember that this is the player. So basically you say, okay, this is the course, you place the description, you place the modules, and then you have the option to add stuff to this course, which in the case of Talent LMS are content, web content, video, audio, SCORMs, API or CMI, Flash, iframe, etc. You know, different types. But one of the things that this system has is that it is handling all the different formats that are transferable from one to the other. And then you can go into review the users and their progress. If you want to place files that they can download, the rules, and reports. You know, so and if you go back here, you can configure the Zoom or any other live things that you have at your disposal. The discussions, you can have a calendar, the groups and courses. And the last thing I would say is, see, like this moves when we switch to another. In this case, I'm switching to the CMC-GI brand. And see, it has, of course, less options, still being the administrator, and you have all the branding that the people would see. If you are a learner, you will probably go in. Well, I'm looking at all the courses yet, but you have like this, and you can have a catalog externally that you can look at. If I go out here, you configure all these different options and things. And if you go to the catalog, then you can publish your catalog of the things that you have available for clients, for example. So as a consultant, I would say that you can provide one course to one specific client if you want, or you can build up different branches for different clients. As we have seen, there are many different parts under the hood that you need to make sure that they integrate. And that's usually what we do in e-consulting global solutions. If you don't want to get into that technical stuff, we do it for you. If you want to do it, with this presentation, you have a good start on how to do it. And that's it, Rima. 5 minutes over. Sorry.
It's okay. I could have gone listening to you for another half an hour, maybe even more. This is exciting. I'm a bit overwhelmed with the amount of
Yes.
information that we got. I hope that everyone else as well found how this could be utilized at the level of the IMCs for providing their training, at the level of management consultants, and how they can provide to their clients. It is a bit overwhelming, and I do hope that we start getting questions from everyone. We had one question before, and I replied to it, and I hope that my reply was correct. After watching all this, I think it was. It was a question from Gary O'Brien, and he was asking, can we define e-learning, please? Are we referring to learn at your own pace courses or live virtual instructor-led trainings? And I believe we got our answer, O'Brien, right?
Yes, I suppose. Thank you for taking the question. Yes, so I suppose e-learning, I suppose, is a term that's bandied about, as is. But I think it was defined earlier that blended learning is where you're using a mix of instructor-led or trainer-led modules as well as your learn at your own pace. So that question has been answered. I suppose the following question I have there is. We would have a lot of content that was developed for instructor-led trainings, which is very, what I would call kind of abbreviated or shortened presentation type slide content, which doesn't transfer into e-learning modules because it's not rich enough. Have you any advice for us in terms of taking and building out e-learning modules in a way, or is there a particular course or manual or guidance or advice that you can point us to? Because that's the problem. We were paying trainers to go and deliver, and the knowledge in their head supplemented the slides. When we move to learn at your own pace, while we can show recordings of instructor-led trainings from the past, it's not the same. We want to build richer e-learning content. Is there any advice that you can share with us for that?
Yes, I would say different things. First, if you are just starting, I would do that in, let's say, in an agile manner, in the sense that you do a version 1 with what you have. At least that allows you to have your offer. They might not be that great, but it's version 1.0, because when you use, for example, Articulate to do something more interactive, etc., it takes time. So thinking as a business, I would say that the perfection is the enemy of goodness, in the sense that if you want, I would say, that's my opinion, I would try to get the content out first, and then do new versions of it. So the easy, the easy part to produce content is to do a PowerPoint and do, for example, a Zoom and record it, and then you edit it and use OpenShot or Camtasia is great too to make some, to make it a little bit more professional. So it has an intro, an outro, and it provides at the end some type of branding or contact information if you want. There's another tool that I didn't mention and that I would recommend that is called Videos. It's a startup from the UK. What they do is you buy a subscription with them, and they make they help you make. They have already predefined templates where you can add your logo or add your message or add and just publish that. Sorry, and then you got an intro that is just swirling and shows your name. You get 5-second or 10-second segments of video that you can do in the middle of the video. So for the learner, you would see perhaps your logo, then another animation that is professionally made, but is based on a template with the title of what we are going to look, and then you use Camtasia, preferably, to assemble the different segments, and you can provide with that recording, the difference between having one person just delivering to a live audience and the same person, let's say, providing the same presentation, thought for recording is different, because probably the segments, you would probably do short segments of 15 to 20 minutes and do clean cuts so that you can separate that in the video as different segments, and people can take it at their own pace when they are at the supermarket or waiting at the doctor's office or things like that. And the system will provide them with the pace and with the control to do those. So video is the fastest to assemble. After that, you can, and it will require some work with the video, but it's much easier than doing, for example, a SCORM. A SCORM for us, it could be, the first regulatory course that we did, we lost our shirt doing that first one because we didn't know more. We were with the learning curve, but we probably invested around 400 hours or 600 hours.
You just cut off there, Otto. Sorry, Otto, you got cut off. I broke up there. You said that you for your first one you used SCORM and you had an issue?
For the first one, the client, because we started with a client, he wanted the SCORM. So we charged the client for that first one, and at the same time we were learning. And in that case, that first one, it took like 600 or 800 hours, probably. We lose our shirt, but we learned. Right now, an hour of a SCORM could probably take 100 hours, with the narration and all the different things that you assemble separately, because probably the visual part is not the most, when you assemble in a SCORM, the visual part is not the hardest part. I would say are the animations that you want and their interactivity. And the second, very lengthy for us, is the recording. Because if you don't have a recording studio, then you record something and it sounds like the doggy, like I'm hearing now in my house, or something that happened outside. And when you hear that audio, you say, no, I have to re-record it. So initially, what we did was, and this is kind of funny, but we bought all this foam that is called for lowering the recording sound. And then we the office that we were at the time, it was an old house, so we got one closet and we padded with that. And when we were recording, we got into the closet, and you know, because it provides us with better quality.
Yes,
We found ourselves re-recording a lot.
Otto, so you're saying is that, I suppose, your advice to us, and we're in the process of identifying an e-learning platform and a content builder at the minute. But I suppose what you're saying is that the easiest way into the learn at your own pace modules is voiceover presentation video type activity. Is,
Yes.
you know, as opposed to.
And then, yes.
Okay.
Yes, and you cut it up and then put intros and outros and do, you know, clean cuts so that it doesn't look like someone just sat down in front of the presentation and just ran through the hour. You know, you may cut it into 6 or 8 segments per units. So and if you have the intros and outros, it looks more professional in a version 1.0.
Yeah, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, and just one last thing. When you have trainers that you pay for doing some course, we usually, in the contract, ask them for 2 presentations. The one that they are going to provide live, and then we ask them to do a standalone recording presentation that has, you know, that may have different dynamic than the live one that is made for recording.
Okay. All right, that's helpful. Thank you, Otto.
Just like Otto, we have the prayer here, so I'm sorry for that sound. Um, I'm not seeing any questions in the chat, but I saw a comment from Elizabeth saying that she loves the Kahoot idea and that she will be using it. So we're happy that you came out with something solid from this presentation. I know that Otto will be providing a PDF and we will be sending that out to all of you. As well as that, we will be uploading the whole webinar onto our YouTube channel, and in the email we'll be sending you, that will be included as well as the presentation from Otto. I want to ask, let's see if anyone else has any questions.
Yes.
Sorry, this is Norma here. I have a
Hi,
question.
Norma. Hello, my
Hi,
dear.
good to
Please
see
go
you.
ahead. Yeah.
Okay, Otto, excellent presentation, lot of very good learning, and it really opened my eyes to some of the wider opportunities that there are. I should probably turn on my video when I'm asking the question. Some of the many opportunities that there are for trainers, but it really seems as if we are mastering things at 2 levels. There's the content, and then there's also the use of the various apps that you have outlined, and it's very difficult as to be able to assess the value of each of the apps. I love the one that you identified with Kahoot, where you're converting some of your content into gamification. And then there's Miro, and then there's Storyline. And it's really quite confusing for someone who is not familiar with all of these. How does one decipher which one would be best for a particular client, organization, situation? And especially if you don't have the nice little soundproof cabinet, how do you work with that? Because if you're an independent trainer, you're not going to have access to all of those things. So I'd love to have some advice from you as to what you would consider a best approach.
Yes, if you want to go live with your content, many of us are experts in different areas that we may provide training, whether online or offline. So you need to at least in my journey, what I did was first understand the LMS. So I did an investigation at, back in 2013 when I didn't know much about I knew about e-learning from a learner or even a consulting perspective, but not the inner workings of how everything ties up in the back. So I started with another platform that is very good also, that is called Doshivo. Um, and we stayed with that for about 6 years. And we basically look at Doshivo at that time and look what could Doshivo play. And then the second stage was to choose how are we going to do our content. In the case of let me just move back here. Um, the case of a storyline, no, I think I messed it up. Um, in the case of a storyline, um, the storyline is not cheap. It's whether Captivate, both Storyline and Captivate have online versions that you can rent, and you can pay, let's say, probably around $300 per year to have access to that. In my case, I don't like, from a business perspective, um, subscriptions, because it's an added cost whether or not you sell or not. So in my case, I bought Articulate, which is around $1,500, and Camtasia is around 300. But there are also more cheap tools, or even cheaper tools, or there are some open source tools. But the open source tools are more the learning curve is higher. Some platforms like Talent LMS, they provide you with a means to develop uh, simple courses with their on their platform. They provide you with the means to develop there. The problem for that, and we don't use that, is that that content is proprietary and I cannot move it. If in the future I don't, I would have to redo everything in somewhere else. So I usually use video, um, sperms, or any other things that I can move out if needed. Regarding your question, I would say you first decide on different, start reading a lot of blogs and things like that, to learn about the LMSs and comparisons that people have done. But for example, if you start with Doshivo, Talent LMS, and I usually use a lot in Google. I sometimes write in the Google part alternatives to X. So if you go, for example, alternatives to Talent LMS, then you will get their peers in their segment, for example. And then you have to check also the pricing, because there are a whole variety of pricing. Um, the second level is content, and the third level actually is what you already handle, which is, the topic that you are an expert on. If you don't want to get into those first stages, that's what the consulting solution does. It provides you with the infrastructure, the knowledge, and the support to start producing your own courses. The idea is not that our business is not that you pay us to do your courses. We actually want you to learn how to do them, so that you use only our infrastructure in a variable manner. In what we have done with our platform is that we resell the access to the platform. So, for example, we have, of course, a subscription to the platform, but we have different arrangements with the people. Even some arrangements where If there is not a sale, there is no cost to host your things. The idea is basically to make very easy, to produce content, and secondly, to allow consultants to focus on what they know best, which is provide the training and the content, not on the technical part. I hope I gave you some advice, but the technical part, if you want to do it, you just need to go through the content and learn it.
So what you're saying is for the technical part, there are providers like you who would be able to enable. Okay, good. We have another question from Garo Brian as well, and it goes as follows. Otto, we have all been quick to move to using virtual tools to continue to engage with clients and projects. Starting into the e-learning space is a journey. How long should management expect it to take to acquire an LMS and build its first course or two? It's about the learning curve as well as the
If you
implementation.
start from zero, if you start from zero, let's say you need to, one, decide which LMS you are going to buy. So probably, you will get into a couple of trials of different platforms, investigate, let's say, a couple of weeks to, read everything that there is and get yourself some criteria to say, okay, I'm going to try out this and this. Advice on that, look first at the pricing, because the pricing models vary a lot. And there are some platforms like Doshivo that now, it wasn't like that before, but the entry point for them is $1,000 per month, which is, it doesn't make any sense for a small practice or for a medium practice if you don't have any sales yet. So look for some, you do a combination of technical things and business oriented decisions on what LMS makes more sense to you, because many of them, or most of them, are per subscription. The ones that are free, like Moodle, you can do things with Moodle or WordPress, but are, first, many of them are geared towards education institutions. And secondly, they usually play less things. Most of them would handle well your registration, but they don't handle that well video, or they are more static. And you want an LMS that can play interactive and interesting things that you can eventually load up there. So I would say, in order to get one LMS chosen and start tickling around with it, probably a month or a month and a half. Then you need to learn to use the tools. My experience with that first course, we spent about 6 months learning, because not to be ready to use the software. Within 3 weeks, we were more or less starting to be proficient on that, but we didn't have a method of how to produce the content. So we did a lot of rework, and we did some things, and then later on learned that in our case it had more sense like that, just without yet the feedback from the customer or from the client. So it took us, I would say, first course in SCORM, which is more lengthy than video. It probably took us, I don't know, perhaps 5 months, 6 months to have it ready. A 4-hour regulatory course. What we did in GI in the beginning was basically do what I just mentioned here. Do webinars. We took those webinars, cut them up. In that case, we didn't split them into sections, but just put them on. That took 2-3 weeks at most. And regular courses, now that we know the tools, for example, the ISO ones that have, different segments. The hard part is, in our case with ISO, what Dwight does. That is recording, and that the recording piece is perfect, that it doesn't have any weird sounds, and that it has the flow. Then what I do in PD, cutting up and setting it up, now that I know the platform, is about a week, probably, at most. 4 hours work at most. So I hope I got you. If you are doing it for the first time, allow 3 or 4 months to do the whole process.
Thanks, Alan.
Otto, I have a question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Actually, 2 questions. The first one, is there any specific tool, when you upload the video content to online, to the online world, it's usually hard to protect it. So is there any specific platform or tip or tool to protect the videos from being downloaded and circulated? That's the first question. And the second question, is it better to have one full content of a video, or to split it into specific smaller content by best practice? Which one is better? Thank you.
Yes. Let's see here. I was looking at here. Okay, there it is. I need to play it here. Yeah. Okay. So regarding people not being able to copy your content, the LMS, a good LMS, does not allow people to download, or if you do click right, they cannot. It doesn't show save as, etc., because what you are providing them is encapsulated in a player that is provided by the platform, which makes very difficult to copy that content. Of course, if you have, for example, fast tone capture, then you can play the video and then just capture the screen and the sounds. You cannot prevent that with any platform practically, but it makes it difficult. Then, of course, there might be some content that you allow to download or things like that, but if you don't want it. And then the other thing that I like is Camtasia. I think OpenShot also has it, but OpenShot is free. It's open source. So OpenShot is for video. Audacity is for audio. These two doesn't cost anything. They are free, but they have a higher learning curve. Especially OpenShot, simple things you can do in OpenShot and cut out and things like that. But if you are really into having bubble things, or having subtitles, or having different things, I would highly recommend Camtasia Studio. One of the this is around $350, the license. One of the great things that Camtasia has, regarding your question, Jade, is you can place a watermark on the back, so that, for example, even if someone, let's say, put the recording on the screen and records that, they would not be able to take out a watermark. And probably it might not be necessarily your logo, but it might be something that it doesn't interfere with the visual, that is not ugly, but that very clearly shows that this content is yours. So I would, and Camtasia allows you to set up a layer with a watermark, or they all probably allow you to put your logo on one square, but the logo could be, if you know how to do it, chopped off, and let's say you take it out. a watermark is much more difficult to filter out.
And there's the second question that Jad asked, and it's about one video or smaller sessions, if I got that right, Jad.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Smaller sessions. What we have found throughout, our first courses were 45 minutes, the recording ones, 45 minutes or things like that for a segment. The reality today is that people, first, don't read. Secondly, they prefer to consume video. And third, it needs to be fast and to the point, which is difficult for me, in my case, for personal reasons. But what we have tried to do is we do an Excel. I don't have it here, but I can. If you send me after the session, I can show you what I do when I design a course, which is basically an Excel saying, okay, this is going to have this content, this content, this content, this content, and then who is going to provide it, the description, and then on one of the columns, I place whether or not I'm going to split it. And what I usually try to do is split it in segments of maximum 20 minutes, hopefully 15 minutes. And with the LMS helps you because you can put small, easy questions between 1 and 2, which is not exactly a quiz, but it's just like a validation of basic comprehension. More than a quiz, it is something that would switch the attention of the learner to something else, to answer a couple of things very easy to answer, and it keeps him engaged and provides them with a sense of advancement, because then the LMS will tell you, oh, you gain another point. For example, if you have it gamified, you got another point because you passed one. In the case of Talent LMS, they give you points, or you can configure it for points for logging in again, for passing courses, for moving from one unit to the other, and things like that. So it also provides you with some basic tools.
Thank you, Otto, and thank you, everyone. We started losing people because I believe we went beyond the 1 hour. But thank you all for being with us. As mentioned before, the presentation in its PDF format will be sent to you. The link to the video would also be included in that email. Anyone who wants to communicate with Otto, we can see that he has his information on the screen. But I would love for you, Otto, to stop sharing so that we can take the screenshot of everyone in attendance. We use that for our newsletter. We use it in the press releases. And I do hope as many of you put on their cameras for us to do that. Khuzaima, I would ask you to please take the shot if possible. And I want to say thank you again for being with us. We're going to have another webinar in 2 weeks. That webinar would be about creating success for you and for your members in the Normal 2.0. It would be presented by Joyce Joyona, who's a member of IMC USA, and I hope that she would be providing us with lots of info there. I believe it would be important for IMCs to attend. So if you're an executive at your IMC, it would be very worthwhile of you to attend that session. Again, thank you, everyone. And I want to say a special thanks to Otto. Sorry we had you speak a lot, and with your allergy, I know how that troubles you, but thank you very much. And we appreciate your time, your experience, and your knowledge in sharing this. And I know that it is a success. Working with Otto was a very good, proper, let's say, success story for GI, and that's how they have been providing their training so far. So I wish you the best. Take good care. Hoping we would see you in the next 2 weeks during the upcoming webinar, which will be announced, and hopefully all of you would receive the announcement. And thank you, Khuzaima, for taking the photo. Thank you, everyone, and God bless. Keep safe, take good care of yourselves, and see you all soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and anyone that can contact me for specific questions. If you didn't remember something and want to ask something, at your service with pleasure.
Everyone is saying thank you, Otto. You've done well, and hopefully we'll continue to serve you well, our members. Take good care.
Okay.